This eagle was lying on the ground, injured and crying out for help. It looked like there was no chance anyone would find her. But what happened next? It'll absolutely melt your heart. Eagles are known as powerful birds of prey. They're built to survive just about anything the wild throws at them. One of their most important features is their beak. It's not just for hunting and eating, but also for grooming their feathers. So imagine what it would be like for an eagle to lose her beak completely. That's exactly what happened to Beauty, a bald eagle who ended up on the wrong end of a poacher's gun. It was sometime in 2005. Beauty had been gliding through the air on a hot afternoon when she stopped to rest on a tree. She was just looking for her next meal when, out of nowhere, everything changed. A poacher had spotted her and pulled the trigger. The shot hit her instantly, tearing off most of her beak and sending her crashing to the ground. Poachers often hunt eagles for sport or try to sell them illegally. The person who shot Beauty must have thought she was dead and left, proud of what they'd done. But Beauty was still alive. She was in terrible pain and crying out, her calls echoing through the forest. As awful as the injury was, the bigger issue was survival. Without her beak, she couldn't eat. Her chances of living much longer were slim, unless someone stepped in. And thankfully, someone did. A few days later, an animal rescue group happened to be walking through the area. They heard a rustling sound in the grass and stopped. At first, it seemed small, just a quiet shuffle, but then it got louder. They followed the sound and found something they never expected: a bald eagle, nearly beakless, lying weakly in the grass. Her squawks were fading, and she barely had energy to move. The group gently scooped her up and rushed her to a place where she could get help. As they drove to the shelter, they couldn't stop thinking, what kind of person would do this to such a majestic creature? Sadly, they knew the area had problems with poachers. When they arrived, the team at Birds of Prey Northwest, a non-profit group, jumped into action. They could see the bird had been starving. No one knew exactly how long she'd been like this. Since she couldn't eat on her own, they fed her through a tube with a nutrient-rich liquid. To their relief, she responded quickly. Beauty was hungry, and she was fighting. Everyone at the shelter was heartbroken over what had happened to her. This was exactly why they did what they did. They named her Beauty and made sure she got everything she needed. I bet one of the specialists examined her and gave some good news. Outside of the beak injury, she was going to be okay. The team continued tube feeding her until she got stronger. Then they switched to using forceps to help her eat, bit by bit. It didn't take long for Beauty to start moving around. But one problem remained. Her beak wasn't healing, not even a little. And after a while, they had to face reality. Beauty would never be able to feed herself again. She wouldn't survive in the wild. Life at the shelter would be her only option. But if she ever stopped eating or showed signs of giving up, they'd be forced to put her down, unless, somehow, something miraculous happened. That's when Jane Frink-Canwell, a raptor specialist, stepped in. She refused to accept that this eagle's story had to end here. She believed Beauty had survived for a reason. The fact that she hadn't died from the injury or starvation, that meant something. Jane was sure this eagle was meant to overcome, and she wasn't about to let her fade away. Jane scheduled a meeting with mechanical engineer Nate Calvin from Kinetic Engineering Group and a small team of experts to share a bold idea. It sounded wild, but with the right people, she believed they could save this eagle. Jane wanted to create something that had never been done before, a prosthetic beak. Working with Nate, a group of engineers, and even a dentist, she got to work turning her dream into reality. The team spent weeks planning, testing, and measuring. Finally, they came up with a design made from nylon polymer that could replace the missing part of Beauty's beak. Nate used 3D modeling software to build the exact shape she needed. Once the model was ready, he used a 3D printer to create the beak. When it was finished, it looked incredible, and the whole team was excited to see how it would work. The next day, they prepped for the big moment. First, they attached a small metal base to hold the prosthetic in place. Then came the tricky part, attaching the beak. On the first try, it didn't quite fit. The measurements were just slightly off, so the team made quick adjustments. The second attempt came closer, but still not quite there. They refused to give up. With one more set of tweaks, they gave it another go, and this time, it clicked. Everyone in the room lit up. The new beak fit perfectly. Beauty let out a high-pitched call, and the team knew she felt it too. They were all grinning, some even teary-eyed, seeing her whole again after so long. The beak would never fully replace the original, but it was as close as they could get, and it meant everything. Next, it was time to see if Beauty could actually use it. The team brought over food and waited. She looked up, expecting to be hand-fed like usual, but they stayed still, watching closely. After a moment of hesitation, she leaned forward, opened her beak, and started eating on her own. The room erupted in cheers. She could now eat, drink, and even preen her feathers. The joy on everyone's faces said it all. Beauty still wouldn't be able to return to the wild. Her beak wasn't strong enough for survival out there. But she was finally more independent than she had ever been since the injury. Beauty's recovery wasn't just a win for her. It opened a door for other animals too. Her story showed what was possible for injured wildlife. She stayed in Jane's care, and the bond between them only grew. Everyone who visited the center was amazed by what Jane and the team had done. It became a story no one could forget. Jane shared their journey online, hoping to raise awareness about the damage poaching does to innocent animals. She believed Beauty had been given a second chance for a reason. And she reminded her team that there could be another animal like her out there right now, waiting to be found.